When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Wherever you are in your journey, welcome to Personally Driven. I am Jackie of JackieWashington.com. And remember, Jackie spelled JACQUI. I'm a certified life coach, a personal development consultant. I help women just like you to stop people pleasing and to start creating a fulfilling life on your own terms and pursue meaningful goals. So I wanted to share this with you all. Like I had stated to you before previously, that my father recently passed away, and a lot of things have come to light, I guess I would say, or things that maybe were not so visible for me to see, you know? All things happen in divine time, so maybe now is the time for me to see. So getting back to what I opened with is, when people show you who you are, believe them. So I was talking with a friend of mine about this topic, and we were talking about friendship. And we were talking about how it seems like when all things are going good, say you're celebrating a graduation, or you're celebrating a birthday, celebrating a new job, or celebrating a new client, just celebrating something good. Your friends all come all out, right? They want to celebrate. Some may partake in a drink, dancing and music and laughter and just happiness, right? Just happiness. But some people that you thought were your friends, when things get rough, murky waters, when things get tough, when it's not such a good, pleasant time. So for instance, maybe you're going through a grieving process. There's all different forms of grieving. Like, for instance, I went through a grieving process when my son bought his first home. Or I'm going to say when he moved out. So the empty nest syndrome, I went through that. And that was considered a downtime for me. Well, there were some of my friends I could talk to about that. But then there were some of my friends that they would change the subject, wouldn't answer the phone, or never call you back. But they just didn't want to talk about it, right? So, I was cool because I got through it, right? So now I'm just so proud of him and all of that. And I'm sure I will do a talk about that. But then there are some grieving times, like, for instance, a layoff. Sometimes there's a grieving process with that as well. I've been through that 3 times. So I understand where you're coming from when that happens. But yeah, you go through a grieving process with the loss of a job as well. And guess what? I had some friends that were there for me, I would say, mentally, letting me vent, say how I feel, what I'm thinking, and then move on, right? But then I had some friends, when they found out I was laid off, didn't talk to them that much. Didn't talk to them at all. Never heard from them again. So, and this is coming up for me because recently, like I said, my father passed away. So I went through some things. And then another friend of mine, she's had people she was very close to pass away. And then another friend of mine's sister passed away. So this is all around the same time, right? And so we were sitting down having a discussion, not all together, separately actually, but the conversation was the same, which was you really get to find out who your real friends are when they still come through during these grieving times. They still call and check on you. They may come visit you. They may send you a card. They may come over and bring you food. Or they may call you at the latest hour and ask, are you up? They may text you and say, hey, you need to talk. Those type of things. But then you have some friends that's like, once you tell them what you're going through, or once you tell them what you're grieving over, you don't hear from them anymore. Or this is the thing I have to admit, this right here, it really bothered me. So, let's see, how can I say this? So I'm just going to say it flat out because I keep it real, right? So when my father passed away, I had some family members. I'm not even talking about friends in my experience, but I had family members that would call and say, hey, I didn't get any information. I feel like I'm being left out. I don't have any information about the services and blah, blah, blah. But mind you, you're in the thick of things and you're planning it. So it's hard for you to, not hard. It's not that you're forgetting anybody. You're just in the thick of things of planning. And if you've never experienced it, then I understand you don't understand. But if you've been through it, and I think that's what was most frustrating for me, the people that had just recently been through this process were the ones that were blowing up my phone, my mother's phone, asking about where do they fly in at? Nobody's telling me about the services. I mean, just, I want to do the program, or I want to do this. And another friend of mine who recently lost a family member went through the same thing. People that hasn't seen that relative that passed, haven't seen them in 20, 30 years, is asking, hey, I want the funeral to go this way because I'm that person's sister, or I'm that person's aunt, or I'm that person's brother or sister, right? But when you're in the thick of things and you're doing the planning, like, I feel like if you want to, here's the other thing that someone said. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. I'm just saying, it struck a nerve for me. I got through it and I'm fine, but it just brought up because of recent friends. Two of my friends have recently gone through a loss of a family member, and just talking about this the other day, like, struck a nerve for me because it just brought up all the other things. So I was glad that I was there to be supportive for them. But here's some things. If you're going through this, here's some things to keep in mind. Okay. If you're the friend and you want to be supportive of the friend that lost a family member or a loved one, this is how you are supportive. Call them. Let them know that you are there for them. That if they need anything, that you can be there for them. Now, only say that if that's what you're going to do. Be a person of your word, okay? So being there for them can be simply making phone calls for them, making text messages, sending out text messages for them, sitting with them, on the phone, listening to them. But that is how and then you can ask them, how would you like me to support you? How can I support you in this way? How can I support you? Let me know what I can do. One thing I can say for sure, definitely feed them. Because in that moment, a lot of times people don't think about at that time to eat. So you may be that reminder, just come over with some food and feed them so they don't have to worry about cooking or trying to go get something to eat. That's one thing you can do. But if you are a friend, or yes, if you are a friend, here's what not to do. Okay? Because I just went through this with a friend. My friend went through this. Here's what's not to do. Don't call your friend and tell them that you're there to support them and you want to come to the services because you want to be there for them. And then in the next breath, or either in the next day, say to them, hey, who's going to pick me up from the airport? And by the way, I'm bringing my mom, who's disabled and needs my care. And by the way, am I going to stay with you? Can I stay at your house? And also, by the way, can I borrow your car? Okay, all those things mean you are not being, that I don't see how you see that as being supportive. Matter of fact, nix that. Forget what I just said. Remember this, that's not being supportive. If you say any of those things, that's not being supportive. You can be supportive by calling, being there for them over the phone. And then if you need, you can, it sounds like to me that person needs to watch the services online at home, because that's not being supportive of that person. Because now that person is worried about, I gotta figure out, I gotta find somebody to pick you up from the airport. Then I gotta think about you staying at my house, even though I'm not staying at my house. I'm staying with my mom, or I'm staying with my dad, or I'm there for the person that that is the living person that's still there, that's grieving. So I'm there for them. So now I got to worry about your disabled mom, dad, or whoever you brought. Then I got to think about, what are you going to eat? Do I have stuff in my refrigerator? Let me tell you this. The person that is grieving and the person that is planning the funeral and all of that does not need to be worrying about that. That is not a supportive friend. That is not a supportive friend. So let me speak to you, the supporting friend. If you want to be a supporting friend, here's what you do. Like I said, the suggestions that I had before, and if you want to come, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful to come and support. But if you're going to come and support, book your own flight. Get your own hotel room. Rent a car. Do those things on your own and drive and do everything on your own so you can be there for your friend. It's just that simple. Please don't ask people that are grieving and planning funerals and things like that. Please don't ask them to do anything for you, because it's not about you in this moment. And like I said earlier, when I opened up and said, when people show you who they are, believe them. That's how you find out who your real friends are. That's how you know who your real friends are when it comes through times like this, when it comes to times like this in grieving, and when their behavior is that way, believe who they are. And let me tell you something, you so-called friends that are around when we're partying and hanging out and all of that, and you so-called friends that say you're there for that person, but then you're constantly asking, what you gonna do for me? Just know, that friend may not say nothing right now, but once the services have passed and they have that alone time to reflect on their experience, oh, they're not going to forget. And don't be surprised if your number's blocked, because I'm going to tell you, that's what I suggested. That person is not a friend, and that person doesn't need to have you, not even be able to call you anymore. That's how I roll. I said blocker. That's what I mean. I